At 11:47 hours on December 20th, 1943, Oberleutnant Franz Stigler pushed his Messerschmitt Bf 109 G6 through 21,000 feet over Bremen, Germany, watching contrails from the American bomber formation dissolve into frozen atmosphere. 27 years old, 5 feet 10 inches tall, 155 pounds. Luftwaffe fighter pilot, Jagdeshwater 27. 28 confirmed kills. 4 more kills would earn him the Knight's Cross with oak leaves, Germany's highest combat decoration. He spotted a crippled B-17 Flying Fortress limping away from the formation at 11,000 feet, losing altitude, trailing smoke. 1 more kill. Stigler armed his guns and closed the distance. Stigler was born in Regensburg, Bavaria, 1915. Catholic family. Learned to fly gliders at age 12. Commercial pilot's license by 1935. Luftwaffe enlistment, 1937. Trained at Werneuchen Fighter School. Posted to North Africa, 1940. Flew Bf 109S against the British Desert Air Force. Shot down twice. Survived both crashes. Transferred to Germany, 1943, for defense of the Reich operations. His assignment: intercept American daylight bombing raids. December 20th was his 4th mission that week. Bremen was burning below. The 8th Air Force had dropped 1,500 tons of high explosive on the shipyards. Stigler's squadron had engaged the bomber stream at 11:30 hours. He'd already damaged 2 B-17s. Now he closed on a third. The B-17 was serial number 42 to 30,734. Crew designation: Ye Old Pub. Pilot: 2nd Lieutenant Charlie Brown, 379th Bombardment Group, 525th Squadron. 21 years old. Farm boy from Weston, West Virginia. 34 previous missions as co-pilot. This was his first mission as aircraft commander. Brown's bomber had taken direct hits from flak over Bremen at 11:42 hours. The number 2 engine was destroyed. Number 4 engine trailing smoke. Hydraulic system destroyed. Oxygen system destroyed. Electrical system failing. Nose destroyed. Plexiglass blown out completely. Tail gunner dead. Ball turret gunner unconscious, bleeding. Waist gunner wounded. Navigator wounded. Bombardier wounded. Brown himself had taken shrapnel fragments in his right shoulder. The B-17 was falling behind the formation at 180 miles per hour. Altitude: 11,000 feet and decreasing. Distance to England: 250 miles across the North Sea. They would not make it. Stigler close to 200 yards. Standard fighter attack doctrine: approach from 6 o'clock low. Climb into firing position. Open fire at 150 yards. Break away at 50 yards. Each Bf 109 G6 carried 2 13mm MG 131 machine guns and 1 20mm MG 151 cannon. Combined rate of fire: 1,900 rounds per minute. A 2-second burst delivered 63 rounds into the target. The B-17's aluminum skin was 0.064 inches thick. The 20mm rounds would punch through it like paper. Stigler moved his thumb to the firing button. Then he saw the tail gunner's position. No movement. The guns hung limp in their mounts. He saw the waist gun positions. One gun pointed at the sky. The other dragged against the fuselage. No gunners visible. He moved closer. 100 yards. He could see inside the waist section through torn metal. Blood on the interior walls. A man slumped against ammunition boxes. Another man crawling. Stigler did not fire. He pulled alongside the bomber's left wing. 50 feet separation. Close enough to see the pilot's face. Brown turned and stared at him. Stigler could see Brown's eyes through his oxygen mask. Wide. Expecting cannon fire. Expecting death. Stigler looked at the bomber's damage. The entire nose section was destroyed. The bombardier's compartment was open to 200-mile-per-hour wind. He could see the navigator hunched over his table, holding a cloth to his head, blood soaking through. The number 2 engine nacelle was shredded. Oil streaked the wing. The number 4 engine belched black smoke. The horizontal stabilizer had holes the size of dinner plates. Fabric flapping. This aircraft should have exploded. It should have disintegrated. It was held together by mechanical impossibility. 9 men were still alive inside it. Stigler made a decision. Do me a quick favor. Tap the like button. Every like tells YouTube this story deserves to be seen by more people. Subscribe and turn on notifications. We're bringing overlooked wartime stories back into the light every day. Stories of crews, soldiers, and ordinary people driven by resolve and duty. Real lives. Real bravery. Back to Stigler. Stigler did not fire. He moved his Bf-109 into formation position. Left wing, 50 feet out, slightly behind. Escort position. The position German fighters used to protect their own bombers. Brown stared at him. Did not understand. Stigler pointed down. Gestured. Land in Germany. Surrender. Brown shook his head. Pointed north. England. Home. The mathematics were clear. Fuel capacity of a B-17. 2,780 gallons. Fuel consumption at cruise power. 200 gallons per hour. Brown had been airborne for 6 hours. Maximum endurance. 14 hours with reserve. But Brown was not at cruise power. He was at maximum continuous power on 2 damaged engines, trying to maintain altitude. Fuel consumption. 350 gallons per hour minimum. He had perhaps 90 minutes of fuel remaining. Distance to England. 250 miles. Flight time at 180 miles per hour. 83 minutes. The numbers barely worked. But the North Sea was waiting. Water temperature. 42 degrees Fahrenheit. Survival time in water. 15 minutes maximum. If the bomber ditched, the crew would die. Stigler stayed in formation. He knew what would happen if other German fighters saw the B-17. They would attack. Standard doctrine. Crippled bombers were easy kills. Fighters swarmed them. Stigler had done it himself 28 times. But now he flew escort. He watched for threats. At 11:52 hours, 2 FW-190s appeared at 1 o'clock high, 2,000 feet above. They rolled into attack position. Stigler broke formation, climbed hard, intercepted them at 13,000 feet. He waved them off, pointed at the B-17, made slashing motions across his throat. No kill. The FW-190 pilots broke away, confused. Stigler dove back to the B-17, took up escort position again. Brown watched him. Still did not understand. They crossed the German coast at 11:58 hours. Altitude, 8,000 feet. Brown could not maintain height. The bomber descended at 200 feet per minute. Stigler descended with him. Below, German flak batteries tracked the B-17. Coastal defense guns, 88 millimeters and 105 millimeters. Range, 26,000 feet maximum, but lethal at any altitude. Standard doctrine. Fire on all enemy aircraft. The gun crews trained their barrels on the bomber. Stigler saw it. He moved his fighter directly between the flak guns and the B-17. Flew straight and level, clearly visible. A German fighter escorting an American bomber. The flak crews held fire. Did not understand. Checked their identification charts. Waited for orders. Stigler stayed in position. The B-17 crossed into international airspace over the North Sea at 12:03 hours. Stigler remained on the left wing. At 12:07 hours, Stigler pulled alongside Brown's cockpit again. Closer this time, 30 feet. Brown could see Stigler's face clearly. Leather helmet, oxygen mask, goggles. Stigler saluted. A formal military salute. Left hand on the throttle, right hand to his forehead. Then he peeled away. Hard right turn. Dove toward Germany. The B-17 continued north. Alone. Brown sat in the cockpit, bleeding, watching the Messerschmitt disappear. He did not understand what had happened. He understood only that 9 men were still alive. Ye Old Pub landed at Seething, England, at 13:40 hours, 93 minutes after leaving the German coast. The landing gear extended manually. Brown had to crank it down by hand. 35 rotations. The brakes were hydraulic. No hydraulics. Brown cut the engines on the runway and let the bomber coast to a stop. Fuel gauges read 17 gallons remaining. The crew climbed out through the waist section. The nose was inaccessible. Ground crews counted 127 holes in the fuselage. The tail gunner, Staff Sergeant Hugh Eckenrode, was dead, killed instantly by cannon fire over Bremen. The ball turret gunner, Staff Sergeant Samuel Blackford, had severe frostbite and shrapnel wounds. The waist gunner, Sergeant Bertrand Colombi, had lost 2 fingers. The navigator, Second Lieutenant Al Sadek, had a concussion. The bombardier, Second Lieutenant Robert Andrews, had shrapnel in both legs. Brown had 11 shrapnel fragments in his shoulder. The co-pilot, Second Lieutenant Spencer Luke, was uninjured. The radio operator, Technical Sergeant Alex Yelisenko, was uninjured. The top turret gunner, Sergeant Richard Pashout, was uninjured. 8 men survived. 1 did not. Brown filed his after-action report on December 21st. He described the flak damage over Bremen. He described the fighter attacks. He described the engine failures. He did not mention the German pilot who escorted him across the coast. His commanding officer read the report and looked at the aircraft. The engineering officer declared Ye Old Pub unrepairable. Too much structural damage. The bomber was stripped for parts and scrapped. Brown was grounded for 2 weeks while his shoulder healed. He flew 19 more missions, completed his tour April 1944, returned to the United States, received the Distinguished Flying Cross for the mission on December 20th. The citation mentioned his skill in bringing a heavily damaged aircraft back to base. It did not mention the German fighter pilot. Stigler landed at Oldenburg at 12:25 hours on December 20th. He filed no combat report, claiming a kill required confirmation, gun camera footage, or witness statements. He had neither. He had fired no shots. Other pilots asked what happened. Stigler said he had intercepted a crippled bomber, but his guns jammed. No one questioned it. Gun jams were common. Stigler said nothing about escorting the B-17 across the coast. That would have been a court-martial offense. Desertion in the face of the enemy. Aiding the enemy. Treason. The penalty. Execution. Stigler's squadron commander, Major Gustav Rodel, was a Knight's Cross recipient, a Nazi Party member. He would have reported Stigler immediately. Stigler kept silent. Stigler flew 487 combat missions during the war. He shot down 28 Allied aircraft total. His count never increased after December 20th, 1943. He was shot down 17 times, wounded twice. He never received the Knight's Cross with oak leaves. He needed 30 kills. He finished the war with 28. Germany surrendered May 8, 1945. Stigler was captured by British forces in Schleswig-Holstein. Released August 1945. Returned to Regensburg. His home was destroyed, bombed by the 8th Air Force in 1944. His parents were dead. His brother was missing in action on the Eastern Front. Stigler immigrated to Canada in 1953, settled in Vancouver, worked as a machinist, never spoke about the war, never mentioned December 20th, 1943. Brown returned to West Virginia after the war, married his girlfriend, Jackie. 2 children, worked for the State Department, posted to various embassies, Italy, Cuba, Nicaragua, retired 1972, returned to Miami, Florida. He never forgot the German pilot. He remembered the salute. He remembered the Bf-109 staying in formation, blocking the flag guns, waving off other fighters. He searched for the pilot's identity for 40 years. He placed advertisements in combat aviation magazines. He wrote letters to German fighter pilot associations. No responses. No one knew who had escorted an American bomber across the German coast on December 20, 1943. No one admitted it. In 1986, Brown attended a combat aviation reunion in Las Vegas. He met a former Luftwaffe pilot. He described what happened over Bremen. The pilot said it sounded like something Franz Stigler would do. Stigler had a reputation. He followed the old Luftwaffe code. You do not shoot at a man in a parachute. You do not strafe lifeboats. You do not kill defenseless enemies. The pilot gave Brown Stigler's last known address in Vancouver. Brown wrote a letter in January 1990. He described the mission. He described the B-17's damage. He described the Messerschmitt that escorted him to safety. He asked, "Were you the pilot?" Stigler received the letter in February 1990. He read it 3 times. He called his wife into the room. He said, "This is the American I saved." He wrote back immediately. Yes, he was the pilot. He had been flying Bf-109 G6, White number 2, JG-27. He had spotted the B-17 at 11:47 hours. He had made the decision not to fire. He had escorted the bomber across the coast. He had told no one for 47 years. Now he told Brown. They met in person in June 1990. Seattle, Washington. Brown flew from Miami. Stigler drove from Vancouver. They met in a hotel lobby. They recognized each other immediately. Both men were 68 years old. They embraced. They spent 4 days together. They described the mission from both perspectives. Stigler explained why he did not fire. "I looked at your aircraft and saw you were helpless. To shoot would have been murder. I could not do it." Brown asked why Stigler risked a court-martial. Stigler said his commanding officer in North Africa, Gustav Rodel, had told him, "If I ever see you shoot at a man in a parachute, I will shoot you down myself." Stigler applied that principle to the B-17. The bomber was defenseless. The crew was wounded. Shooting them would violate the warrior's code. Stigler chose honor over a medal. They remained friends for 18 years. They visited each other annually. They appeared together at military history conferences. They told the story of December 20, 1943. Historians verified the details. German and American records confirmed the mission, the flag damage, the B-17's landing at Seething. Stigler's logbook confirmed he flew that day. The story was documented in a book, A Higher Call, published 2012. Brown and Stigler were both interviewed extensively before publication. Do me a quick favor. Tap the like button. Every like tells YouTube this story deserves to be seen by more people. Subscribe and turn on notifications. We're bringing overlooked wartime stories back into the light every day. Stories of crews, soldiers, and ordinary people driven by resolve and duty. Real lives. Real bravery. Leave a comment right now and tell us where you're watching from. Are you in the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, or somewhere else? This audience reaches across the entire world. You're not just watching, you're helping preserve history. Let us know if someone in your family served, or simply let us know you're here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for making sure these stories are not forgotten. They deserve to be remembered, and your support makes that possible. Franz Stigler died March 22, 2008. Kidney failure. 92 years old. 65 years after December 20, 1943. Charlie Brown died November 24, 2008. Cancer. 87 years old. 8 months after Stigler. They are buried 3,000 miles apart. Stigler in Vancouver. Brown in Miami. The bond outlasted the war. Outlasted borders. Outlasted enmity. On December 20th, 1943, Stigler had 4 seconds to decide. Fire or don't fire. Kill or don't kill. Follow orders or follow conscience. He chose conscience. 9 Americans survived because one German pilot remembered what it meant to be human.